and welcome back to Dicebreaker. We are here at Gen Con 2023 in Indianapolis. We have been graciously hosted by the people from Upper Deck. We are on their literal upper deck, hence why you can see the entirety of the convention behind us.
We're looking down on everybody.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of the video, but what we are here today to discuss is the top, I believe, 11 games from Gen Con, as according to Dicebreaker.
Yeah. The ones we're most excited for, the ones we really enjoyed.
Yeah, the ones that we just think you should know about. We have a lot of very different, very interesting things.
It's a mix.
They do not gel together at all. So
there's no order, there's no ranking. We're just
this is very much the stuff that we were most interested in.
This video is sponsored by Roll of Fate. Roll of Fate is a brand new game that looks to blend the deck building combat of a TCG with the storytelling and campaign style play of an RPG. Pick a unique role and tweak your playstyle by adding new cards, then join forces with the rest of the players in the group to take down enemies and final bosses. Community play is built into the heart of the design, with features such as in-game currency available to earn at events to further build your characters and trade with other players. Plus, there's the chance to affect the lore of the game, whether you're playing in an official campaign or player versus creator sessions. Roll of Fate is live on Kickstarter right now till September 5th, with the full release planned for this December. You can find out more about Roll of Fate in the link in the description.
And we are going to kick things off with, I think, the first game I actually played at the show this year.
Yeah,
which is pretty wacky. Yeah. Horror on the Orient Express, the board game, which is from Chaosium. Good lord, that was a mouthful.
You did it though, you did it.
With the more licenses that people are picking up, game names are getting longer and longer. But yeah, no, this is from Chaosium. This is, if you don't know, the publisher of Call of Cthulhu.
It is.
And you will not be shocked to see that it is a Lovecraftian
it's based
story.
On a Call of Cthulhu adventure, right?
Yes,
It's
very exciting.
Cool.
And you might be thinking, oh, okay, I've played a lot of, Eldritch horror games. I know how they work.
Yeah, there's a few out there.
This is very different from that. Very, very different.
Yeah, it seemed cool.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how much of it you saw because you had to run off.
Literally like 5 minutes because I had another meeting to go to, so I was kind of staring at people's shoulders and I was like, okay, bye.
Well, let me tell you how it works.
Yeah.
So, we are on a sort of Colt Express style 3D train.
Oh, which I
made
love.
out of cardboard. Immediately, Matt Jarvis going absolutely feral in the background. 3D train, sign me up. But on that said train, we've got multiple cabins which are kind of randomly assigned. Some that have special powers. But the main sort of like system that you're messing around with is the train is full of passengers who are not aware that they are currently being attacked by a giant swarm of eldritch monsters.
Which is probably good. I'd rather not be aware if it was me.
No, I'd love to be blissfully unaware of that, yeah. And all of those passengers are represented by these little D6s, each with little faces on, which are adorable. They look great.
I love the faces.
They very much remind me of like a sort of management sim, like Roller Coaster Tycoon or something like that.
The little faces popping up and like, oh, your guests are very sad.
Yeah, so each side, they're sort of color-coded, so they're green, they're happy or content. Red is like angry, they'll like get into fights and stuff. Yellow, they could be injured or they could have been driven mad because it is, of course, Lovecraft.
These things are happening.
But the general idea is that you're trying to sort of like manage all of the standard passengers and like stop them from dying, because that's bad and bad things will happen. But at the same time, there are special NPCs amongst those characters, some of which are cultists. And those are the ones that are causing everything to go wrong.
Oh dear.
So you are driving down the Orient Express. I say driving, you're on a train.
Yeah.
You're not driving the train, but you're on
it.
And you're sort of trying to interrogate these NPCs, you're trying to schmooze them like, hey, where are you got a ticket to exactly?
I'm not a cultist.
What? I didn't ask.
Why look at me like that?
So you'll work out bits of information about them, the clothes that they're wearing, where they're going to, what they're kind of interested in. And based on that, you'll have a card at the start that tells you what sort of combination of those things will identify cultists. So, for example, there's always one that has like a red fez on, and that is always a cultist on the card that we were playing. But there's one where it's like, well, as long as they don't have the Elder sign, because that means they're good.
Okay.
If they have this combination, then they're also a cultist. So it's kind of this deductive reasoning. You're slowly revealing information about things, and you're like, okay, well, I don't think it's that guy because he doesn't have the certain like artifacts that he's looking for and all that kind of stuff. And you're doing this kind of almost like Cluedo-style mystery, just uncovering like all the elements. It's like, oh, it's the guy with the fez who was sat in the cabin doing this. All the while, being attacked by giant monsters that are smashing into the train.
Oh.
There's a vampire that's just hanging off the side. You have to like close the curtains so that people can't see him and stuff. It's great. I really
love
liked
that.
it. And I looked at the game when we first started playing and I was like, oh god, it's another big miniatures,
Yeah,
big box,
lot of
Kickstarter
pieces.
vibe, you know? And I was just like, is this just going to be another one of those Cthulhu games? But I was really pleasantly surprised by it.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting.
Amazing. That sounds great. I'm very excited to get to play more of it.
Let's move on then to something that you have played, Maddie.
Yes.
And
Probably
what has...
the biggest thing.
It's been the
Yeah.
story of the show, Disney's Lorcana.
Yeah, it's out. It's here. People have got it in their hands. They're playing it.
We've already played it. We actually
We
played
have.
it before the show, but Matt got a chance to play it
Yeah.
as well.
You can check out our video of us playing it. You can see all the starter decks in action.
Yeah, we've
It's out
also
right now.
interviewed one of the co-designers,
Yeah.
which is very cool. So we're going to be talking to him.
much coming,
See
yeah.
that on the channel. There's a lot of stuff we filmed
Yeah,
at Gen
yeah,
Con,
yeah,
so keep your eyes out. This has been incredibly popular to the
Yeah.
point where people have been queuing for like 16 hours just to buy boosters and stuff. It's been
People are
nuts.
excited.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, we played it and seen it and stuff. And I'm like,
Mm.
I get it. Like, it's Disney. Like, people are very excited for it. And if you love Disney, like 100%, I think people will just love this. Like,
Yeah.
we've said a bunch of times, it is like the kind of perfect in between for people getting into trading card games. It's in between Pokemon, which is obviously quite very, very simple, and
Yeah.
Magic the Gathering, which for a lot of people feels very complicated.
Yes.
It's like, it's a kind of middle ground in between. Like,
Yeah, it's a bit less aggressive.
yeah.
In its current state, there is no sort of like outside of turn interaction. So things like instants and like reactions and things like that, which
Yeah.
you might be familiar with from more complicated TCGs, that's just not around right
Yeah.
now. We don't know if that's going to be the case forever. But in its current state, I mean, you compared it to Keyforge, which is
Yeah,
quite similar
very
to.
much Keyforge.
It very much feels like, yeah, you're collecting a resource rather than doing damage.
Yeah, you're making that balance of like,
Yeah.
do I focus on collecting lore, which is the kind of aim that you're trying to do, and that's how you win, is get lore points that characters can get by going off on stories, or you can like try and fight and challenge other characters and stop
Yes.
them. So every turn it's like, do I focus on my own goals, or do I try and stop other people? And it's
Yeah.
like a fun kind of balancing choice.
There's definitely some interesting decision making to make.
Yeah.
I think in its current state, there's a limit to the amount of interesting decisions you can make in a game. I'm excited to see how it develops from that state.
I think that's the
Yeah.
big thing. I feel like it feels like a really solid foundation, which we've said a lot of times, and it's like I'm excited to see where they'll go with it, because obviously we got in November more like decks and stuff coming out, like more characters, like they've got to start somewhere. There's
Yes.
a lot of Disney characters. You've got to like get people in on the ground floor, and I feel like that's where we're at right now, and that's cool.
But I, to be honest, have relatively high hopes for them.
Yeah,
I'm not
likewise.
necessarily, like trying to make Disney another business thing where they absolutely own every single aspect of our lives, but it seems like they're doing pretty well. Ravensburger have done a great job with the production values.
Yeah.
It's really, really gorgeous.
Beautiful
the art's
art.
fantastic.
I love it.
And it genuinely feels like they are confident in its successes.
Yeah.
I feel like one of the biggest sort of things that people are worried about with Lorcana is this just going to be a flash in the pan that collectors scalp and we never see it
Yeah.
again? No, they've got a lot of sort of like secondary kind of like aesthetic stuff like sleeves and deck boxes and playmats and all that
they
kind of
want
stuff.
it to be like a game that people are
Yeah.
gonna like really invest in and like get
Yes.
involved in, which is cool.
Which makes sense, and
big.
I think they might have the spoon to do it. So
Yes.
we will see more as that develops. We've got gameplay on the channel. It should, hopefully, because
it
we're
out.
literally posting it
It's
as we speak in
happening
the
right
background.
now.
Should
We're
be live
looking
right
at
now.
it.
So there will be a card coming up for that. But let's move on to something that you're going to tell me about, Maddie, because I was not there.
Yeah, which is Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era from Chip Theory Games.
Yes.
It's in a prototype state right now.
A very funny prototype.
I will be
state.
uploading a very funny TikTok of the art, because it's based on Elder Scrolls Online, basically. That is the world. So if you
Yes.
played that and like you really vibe with the kind of the broadness beyond like just Skyrim or somewhere, like it's fun just kind of going out into what all of Elder Scrolls is.
We have seen Skyrim board games, but this is very
Yeah.
much all of Tamriel. You know, this
Definitely.
is the whole world, right?
Yeah, it's honestly really fun. Like I really like Elder Scrolls. I play a bunch of ESO and stuff. So like I was already going in like kind of excited. I really enjoyed it. I think because recently we tried to sit down to play Frosthaven, and it was like it was very overwhelming and a lot. And so I think I had that in the back of my mind when I was playing the whole time, being like, this is a really nice way of having like an adventure RPG feeling board game without being like there is so much happening. Like I sat down, it was just me and Andrew from Chip Theory. He ran me through, and like I got it so quickly. Like it's really nicely laid out. You have boards where basically like you're just slotting things in for skills and stuff, picking up skills on the way.
This is the designers of Too Many Bones.
Yes.
Which has a very similar system with these kind of like little divots that you kind of like fill and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Which is like, it just means picking a character and building it is so easy because it's like boom, boom, boom. And like, then trying to build a skill tree is like, it's just visually very easy, and you can see, oh, okay, like I can just add another health here, or I can add another to like speech here. And it's fun because it has things like speech as a skill, and it's like, you can pick skills that you start with, and he was like, maybe don't start with speech because there's some fights and stuff, but like you can a bit like lots of Elder Scrolls games, go around and like pick up skills in towns and stuff where like people are training you, and like you can kind of develop your characters and they can like stick around for quite a while. But at the same time, we played for about 2 hours, I think, and we got through like one adventure, which was really nice because it's like, I want to invest in an adventure board game, but also like, I don't know if I've got 8 hours every time to play.
It seems like they are trying to make something a little bit less aggressively large.
Definitely.
Which I think we could use some more of
at
the moment.
Sometimes we want an adventure fantasy experience, but we don't want to get overwhelmed by it. One of the things that really stood out for me was the writing. I thought it was really fun. Like every time we're in a town, I was like, you basically have town actions where you can kind of like stay in an ill to recover, you can learn new skills, you can pick up items, and every time I was like, I'm using one to look at the side quests, and they were like very Elder Scrolls style, and like a lot of very funny ones. Like there was one where we had to go and a guy wanted his mum's like meatloaf recipe. He was like, I just want it so badly, like I can't think of anything else. And then we like went and got it for him. And then she basically had poisoned it. And so when we gave it to him, he died. And it was just like honestly really fun. And I was like, this is one of the things I loved about like playing Skyrim and stuff, is like these kind of really weird and quirky side quests. And they still got that. It was, when like a random Khajiit runs up to you on the road in the middle of nowhere and is like, hello, I have this weird thing to do. Like, it kind of captured that in a way I really love.
I'm going to sing a strange song at you now, stranger.
And here's a side quest.
Yes.
Like, so, yeah, that was one of the highlights for me. And yeah, it's very much in a prototype stage right now, but I'm...
Including screen grabs of the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion character creator making potato elves, which I was a huge fan of.
Check that out on TikTok. I very much had to be like, please let me film this. I know that they're not real and this isn't going to be the game. Please let me film it. So yeah, I'm excited to see more, basically.
Yeah. Coming up next is one that we both played, which we had a whale of a time with. Again, we've recorded this. Good.
Yeah.
Come on, we're doing a lot out here.
We're videoing.
Yeah,
we're
be excited. Be excited. We did a Let's Play with Matt Fantastic as our GM of the Adventure Time RPG.
Oh my god, this is the thing I've been most excited for all of Gen Con. I've been
at the bit.
badgering wheels every like 10 minutes, being like, have we organised the session to play yet? Are we ready yet?
It was tricky because we were trying to find like a recording location, and I was like,
attention Gen Con attendees.
Yeah, we very much were like trying to find somewhere to film, and it was difficult, and you were looking at me like, wheels? I need this.
I won't leave Indianapolis without playing.
We were very, very, not even pleasantly surprised, I think, because we were still excited for it. And we were like, damn, this lives up to the hype. Like,
honestly,
this is great.
Because it's like a new system. And so I was like, I really have no idea what to expect. I was like, I know what a Powered by the Apocalypse game is like. This is the yes and system that they've developed. And it's completely based on just dice, like custom dice that say things. Yes, no, and but.
And it's one of those things where until you've played it, I think it sounds overly simplified, and it's not.
Yes, true.
And also, when you when you play it and you experience it, you're just like, why hasn't this been done before?
Yeah, it's such a simple concept.
It's that thing of just like, people are kicking themselves because they haven't designed it.
Literally.
I think we're going to have that experience. And the way it works is, it kind of like, it was compared to a Star Wars RPG that Fantasy Flight made, I think.
Yeah.
Where you've basically got these colored dice, and the better the skill is, the different color you have, and it basically has like different odds on it.
Yeah.
So you would roll one of those dice, and you would have a better chance of success on, like, say, a blue one than you would a red one.
Yeah.
But with this, instead of it being like, symbols that you have to roll and all that kind of stuff, they just said yes or no.
Literally that.
And then obviously the worst die was the red one. There was only one yes. And the best one was the blue one, which I presume only had one no.
Yeah.
And you would like have 4 skills. I think it was like talent, physical, social, and
mental, which I think was like
something like that.
Magic and all that other stuff.
And you would basically just pick a stat that makes the most sense.
Yeah.
You would grab whatever die was that color. You'd pick up a black die called the complication die,
Yes.
and you roll them both. And you'll get a combination of either yes or no, and either a blank face, a but, or an and.
Yes.
And
So I'm like, I want to climb a tree, and I'll roll dice, and it'll say yes. But, so it's like, I did climb, but maybe something went a little bit wrong. So it's
Yeah.
like levels of success in such a simplified way that is so satisfying.
But it's also just like, it's not like it's detracted, because obviously we've seen this since
No.
Powered by the Apocalypse,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Oh, on a 7 to 9, it's a partial success. On a 10, you're like, we
With a
know
little
this by
something.
now, right?
Yeah.
It's a very, very common thing. You know, like I think of Quest, which had like 40 options.
Right,
It's like, oh my
yeah,
God. Which is supposed to be a beginner RPG as well. But with this, it was just like, I didn't need to think about my character at any point. I rolled it and the dice told me exactly what happened.
It's very much, it wants to be a narrative game, obviously,
Yeah.
because it's very much storytelling, and like the rules just melt into the background in a way that like
my
I
God.
feel like I haven't felt that many times in RPGs, and it was great. And like, I love a crunchy RPG, you know,
yeah.
like I'm all about it, but this was like just jumping in for like
Oh my
chaos
God.
and fun.
I genuinely think this
So
might be
good.
the new, like, Powered by the Apocalypse, everyone's going to make their own version
Yeah,
of this. Or
oh,
like Lasers and
definitely.
Feelings, you know, where everyone's
Yeah,
going to make a hack
yeah.
of this, I think.
God, I mean,
And,
why? You should. It's
yeah,
great.
no, genuinely, it's really good. It seems so obvious when you look at it, and you're just like, oh
doesn't
my God,
it?
this is so... I just saw the dice, and I was like, oh, that's so
You know
clever,
what?
you know?
Yes.
Before we had any rules
It's so
explanation, I was
right
like,
for
oh my
this.
God, I get it. And the comedy
Mm-hmm.
of like, I'm going to try and move this beehive, which I've frozen.
It's great.
No.
Just every
It's
time.
not like, it was just 3, damn.
And then, like,
the
yeah.
dice just go, no.
No. Nice try. No.
Genuinely
I
hilarious.
think so. And one of the things I thought was a big thing that stood out for me is like, will we just play pre-generated characters from the world?
Yeah.
Can we make our own? Yeah, you can make your own, but you
Both.
can also
Yeah.
be ones that we play. So I was BMO.
I was the Ice King.
It was incredible.
We had a
went on
great
little
time.
adventure.
I got hit in the boing lines.
Hello, Finn.
One of the best impressions of BMO ever, by the way. So check that video out.
BMO's my favorite character
Yes.
like of all time.
But yeah, no, we had a great time. It's like this. This is the weird thing. There's not much to say about it. It's
Yeah,
so
'cause
simple.
It's, very
It's just
simple.
great. It's just really good.
fantastic. Yeah.
We will move on to Sunrise Lane.
Yeah.
So this is from Horrible Guild. You may remember them from things like King's Dilemma and stuff. They make a lot of very cool games that have
Yeah.
nothing to do with each other.
Yeah, which is fun.
This is
Mixing it
a
up.
kind of like remix of an old Reiner Knizia game called
Yeah.
Rondo, which is basically, it's very similar to Ticket to Ride.
Yeah, which I haven't played, but I've heard.
Damn.
It's-
Which, I mean, one of the world's biggest games.
Yeah.
Like, one of those things that most people say, like with Catan, it's like, oh, it's the first game I ever played, and it like got me in the hobby.
it's an intro one.
It's a great game. It's it's a legacy title, and this very much feels like a kind of like I don't know, not a successor, but something that I would
Yeah.
rather play instead. You know?
I would love to play it again. Like
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it still.
Exact same level of complexity. It may be even easier to comprehend.
Yeah.
Because there's less kind of like, like I've got to get a route card and all that kind of stuff.
It's very fast. Like you
Yeah.
on your go, you just like boom, boom, boom. I know what I'm doing. Boom, boom, boom. boom
Yeah,
boom,
we
boom.
were
Like,
talking to
it's-
the designers and the guys from Horrible Guild, and they were just like, you'll play a turn and you'll look at your phone and they'll be like, dude, it's your turn again. You're like,
Yeah,
whoa,
you're
what?
like, oh,
What
okay.
happened? Because all you do on your turn is you either draw 2 cards,
Yeah.
or you play a card and put a building in a matching coloured space. So if I play a red card, I put a building in a red space
Yeah.
of my colour of buildings.
You're basically building a town out. You each
Yeah.
have coloured houses, and you're trying to get points by how many houses you stacked on top of each other, how many kind of like groups of houses you have together, and a bit like, I guess like a Scrabble board. It's got like little tiles with points on, so it's like 1, 5,
certain spaces
3.
are only worth a little bit, especially
Yeah.
ones near the center of the board. But as you
Yeah.
move out, they get a little bit more lucrative and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
And you're basically doubling and tripling and quadrupling the points with the more houses you put on. So
Yeah.
if there's a 5, you can put one on and get a 5. But if you've managed to get 3 red cards, you can score 15 points.
Yeah.
And then
Huge.
the only 2 other rules are you basically have to build in a straight line on your turn.
Yeah.
Which is where the kind of Ticket to Ride nature comes from. You're building like
Yeah.
routes almost. And then at the end, there are scoring conditions in sort of regions on the board.
Yeah.
So wherever you are, whoever has like the biggest like contiguous group, they're going to get extra points.
Yeah.
If you're in the blue zones, it's whoever has the tallest building. And if you're in the red zone, it's whoever has the most spaces covered.
Yeah.
And that's literally it.
It's
much
very
like Adventure Time.
simple.
So simple. And yet it was just like, damn, that's good.
Yeah,
That's
it was
fun.
just really satisfying and fun to play. Like
Yeah.
it just yeah, you were saying it's like it's a perfect game you can like play over some drinks with people.
Oh,
like,
such a pub game, yeah,
it's
such a like,
great.
got family, friends
And
over,
it's nice
all that
because
kind
it's
of
like,
stuff.
I feel like a lot of pub games are like, it's a card game or something. It's
Yes.
like a nice kind of just simple, like, crack this out.
It's pretty as well, like lovely little house people. So yeah, it's really nice.
art.
I have like high hopes that people are going to really enjoy this as like a beginner title.
great.
So keep an eye out for that. That is Sunrise Lane from Horrible Guild. We're going to talk with Maddie for the last game before we get swapped out.
For a special guest.
Special guest.
You know him, you love him.
Stay tuned if I know who it is. We saw, which is again another sort of video that's going up on the channel. We've got an exclusive on it. Not exclusive, but you know, it's got its own video is what I mean.
Yes.
Freelancers from
Oh my god, the art on this.
Beautiful.
Incredible.
Absolutely beautiful. It's got that kind of like, almost like root, very colourful, illustrative style. Absolutely gorgeous, very like warm toned and stuff like that. Which you know I love.
His favorite.
God. But this is another Crossroads game, and it's actually quite important because we are nearing, I believe, I don't think we've quite hit it, the 10-year anniversary of Dead of Winter, which was the first ever Crossroads game. We spoke to the designers about sort of like where the Crossroads system has been and where it's at now, and the ways in which it's sort of like mixed things up in this new game. And what's quite cool about it is when you are building a character in this game, full disclosure, we haven't played it yet, we're very excited to, but in this game you are kind of like combining two character sheets. So you grab like a kind of species, so I was playing like a moth. You had a little cat.
I was a little cat with a little
and then
sword.
you get a job. So I was a gunslinger. It's very like comedic as well. I got gunslinger. I was like, wow, I'm a cowboy. And it's like, no, you throw guns at people because I guess people don't make bullets anymore because this is like a post-apocalypse world. And you were playing like a private detective.
I was. It was very fun.
Yeah. Very, very cool and very fun.
Very
so
cute.
we built our little characters.
Which you do by having a sheet where it asks you like a question and you have no idea what it means.
Yeah, it's Mad Libs.
And you just like fill it out. It's like, what's your favorite bug?
Choose a long item, all that kind of stuff. And then you fill it in as you do that. As you like level up and get like endings and stuff, you'll also find out what those mean as well.
Yeah, it's really
Just
fun.
kind of interesting. But the interesting thing about what it's done to the Crossroads system is that normally, so for example, if you've played Dead of Winter, the person to your left or whatever it is will draw a card and there'll be a trigger at the top that says, if this character goes to the petrol station, stop and do the thing. With this, obviously, you know, there are no set characters because you're making your own. So instead they're tied to your job and things like that. So it will be like, hey, if there's a gunslinger here, do this. But the way in which it's further developed that is, you know, it's building off of Forgotten Waters, which is the title before it. Where it is this sort of app-assisted game. So now you're just like, you tell the game, this is what we have. And it will just curate all those events for you. So there's a lot less duds as well. It's not like I'll draw a card and be like, oh, it's a shame this didn't happen, would it be funny? It's just like, hey, here's the thing that goes, you know, go to this literal crossroad on the map and this cool thing will happen. So we're very interested by that. It's like a sort of, like I said, it's a post-apocalyptic world where humans don't exist anymore, and they're kind of like the boogeymen because they
ruined the world.
They made the apocalypse happen. So
everyone's
like, God, I hope there aren't any humans around here.
So fair.
But yeah, absolutely adorable. Looks really cool. I'm a big fan of a lot of the things that Platat put out. So looking forward to it. Maddie, thanks so much.
That's okay.
Joining us here at Gen Con 2023.
I've had a great time.
Would you like to welcome in our special guest? Editor-in-Chief, Matt Jarvis.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
We've had to reframe the shot because Matt Jarvis is too tall.
Hello,
Matt. Welcome back.
Hi.
We are here at Gen Con 2023, and we're going to talk about some more games.
That's
what would
right.
you like to begin with?
Let's talk about another really big one, which is Daggerheart.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
You may have heard of a little show called Critical Role, and out of that show came the publisher Darrington Press.
Yes.
They make a load of RPGs. They made some board games as well, kind of story-driven, kind of mixture of RPG and board game. And Daggerheart is their latest upcoming title, so it's only in a playtest form here.
Yes.
Designed by Spencer Stark.
Yeah, who, full disclosure, is a friend of mine.
Yes.
But I'm not giving any opinions on this anyway, so it's fine.
I was going to say, he's not a friend of mine. We've met, but
he's a nice guy.
but I can say that his game's great. He made Icarus.
Alice is Missing.
Alice is Missing.
Yeah,
just fantastic games. This is really interesting. So it is very much in that vein of something like Alice is Missing, Icarus, in terms of being very light, very kind of like story
card-driven as well, which is kind of interesting. Not fully, but like partly.
Yeah, use of cards, but it's more of like a traditional RPG than those games. So you are rolling 2 dice. You're rolling 2 D12s.
Yes.
Which
again, we filmed an interview coming up on the channel soon with Matt talking to Spence about the game. Big fan of the D12.
Put some respect on the D12's name, please, I beg you.
Yeah.
So yeah, you roll 2 D12s, they're different colors, they're hope and fear. Whichever one is higher determines kind of whether it's a success with a kind of like qualifier that is positive or negative, so a complication or kind of an added benefit. The character sheet is a sheet that you then put cards on for your ancestry, your domain, so kind of your background and class. It's very slick, it's very beginner friendly. It's just, it's a really kind of tight thing. It doesn't have a setting yet, so they can't talk about the world.
Interesting, yeah.
It is just kind of a work in progress for the design itself, but it seemed really promising.
Yeah, it was also, like, you could tell that it's aimed at an audience who are trying to step outside of Dungeons & Dragons.
Absolutely,
It's definitely aimed at people who are big fans of high fantasy, and D&D's all they know, but maybe they're looking for something new. Who could say why? And they're just, they're dipping their toes into stuff. Obviously, Critical Role have a massive weight in that audience, so they are someone who can kind of push for that thing. But it's going to be a game of their own making, so think of that what you will. But it's got that sort of very like user-friendly design as well. We were
really
seeing
nice.
bits of like the sheets that kind of slide out of each other to
brought
reveal
to mind
your
things like
leveling
Powered by
up.
the Apocalypse, and like if you played Avatar Legends or Monster of the Week, Powered by the Apocalypse games, kind of that very, like you say, very kind of boiled back, but not necessarily like there's depth there. There's like, but it's not it's not D&D crunchiness, but you can play with miniatures, you can play with terrain.
Yeah.
That is a difference from something like Powered by
That's
the
the bridge
Apocalypse.
they're trying to gap. Yeah.
It is like
The
bang
bridge
in
they're
the
trying to
middle.
gap, the gap they're trying to bridge.
Sure.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, yes, very interesting. Sort of probably going to be quite a big deal, I would say.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're 100% sure if it's going to be attached to a show.
No, there's no world attached to it at the moment at all. So it's not like Candela Obscura, which was a show, then an RPG. This is just an RPG coming together. There's no date on it. It's just in a playtest form, but it looked very polished, very like together already. So
yes,
I'm interested to see where it goes, and it's got Critical Role behind it. So
I'm
it's
sure it'll
kind
do
of
well.
fascinating
Sure
to
do well.
watch.
I guess the interesting thing is like the longevity it will have, like the kind of impact that it has on the market.
Absolutely.
Rather than just I'm buying a thing because I'm a fan of this thing. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yes,
this is another one that I actually haven't played.
No, it's a game that I was run through by the folks over at Keymaster Games. You may know the name Keymaster from Parks, which has been on the channel before.
Yes.
Very gorgeous game, very kind of like approachable, just like a feel-good walk through the woods. Harvest is a re-implementation, a kind of new edition of a game from about 5-6 years ago by Trey Chambers, who did Imperial, which is a train game I love. It's a game about farming, so it's very classic kind of like board game fare, very classic Euro game fare. Like in the vein of something like an Agricola.
Well, I was going to say as well, because it's got a very like wholesome,
It's
cutesy
got
art
super
style.
cozy art.
Yeah, and I think I don't think the board game comparison is it. I think it's that kind of Stardew Valley crowd.
Yeah,
I think
so
that's what
Stardew
they're
was
looking
name
for.
dropped
Yeah.
as I was chatting to them.
Yeah.
Like, yes, it's very much got that look, and people were literally, as they were showing me, people would stop and be like, "I love the look of this."
Oh yeah.
You are animal farmers. There's like a cow who is a mare. There's like a cool-looking fox. There's all sorts of stuff. They are farmers, and you have your own board on which you, like Agricola, you're developing your farm.
Yeah.
So you want to plant seeds. They will then turn into crops.
The exhibit hall is closed.
Oh, the show is just closed, so excuse the now very dramatic lighting.
So yes, it's a game in which you are, like I say, you plant kind of your seeds, they turn into crops, you're then selling off your crops, and then you can build buildings as well. So yes, it's very much around developing your farm, but it's very slick. There's kind of a central market and board where you do actions, but you are developing the farm on your own board. Yes, definitely in the vein of something like an Agricola.
Yeah.
Sounds really, really like sweet, cozy, but also it's meant to play in under an hour.
Oh,
So
wow,
Whereas
fantastic,
Agricola
yeah.
can stretch on a bit, this will wrap up nice and neat. It looks great. I'm really like excited to play more of it. I kind of got a run through, but it really whet my appetite for it.
And that is Harvest. Moving on, we were talking to Scorpion Mask.
Yes.
Seeing a few of the very, very cool things that they're putting out. Again, another crew of people that like we're usually quite excited to see what they do. Like
Yeah, they
always
do
got
very
interesting
like
designs.
strange,
Yeah.
like innovative games.
And this one is thematically about landing a plane.
Yeah.
Not even like it might at some point get there because there's a sort of campaign element, but not even like oh my god the plane's on fire kind of thing. It's
There's
just
no
about
like
landing
disaster
planes.
element. Yeah. It's almost like a sim. It's like
Yeah,
It's like Flight Simulator was a board game.
Yes.
So yes, I played a bit of this at Essen last year. I was very excited to see the kind of finished version of it. I still love it. Like
Yeah.
it's I think genuinely it's like one of the games I'm most excited for this year. It's so unique, but it's really, really just tight and fun kind of co-op experience.
Yeah, this is my first experience of it. It's a 2-player cooperative game specifically. You have the Sky team and you have the ground team, and they are...
No, you have the pilot and the co-pilot wheels.
Where am I getting this from?
You tried to keep demoting me to ground team. He also thought he was the pilot when he was the co-pilot, which was a very
that
Wheels
sums me
thing.
up, doesn't it? Yeah. Sorry. Pilot and co-pilot are working together to sort of like activate landing gears,
Yes.
open up flaps.
You got to open those flaps.
You got to open those flaps.
Put down the gear.
Yeah, like prepare the brakes, all that kind of stuff. All the while, you're doing a lot of sort of like calling into the tower to be like,
clear
hey, we
planes
need
out
these
the way,
planes
yeah.
to move. Because there are very many like ways in which the plane can crash.
Yes.
The plane can tilt too far and
Yeah.
literally like barrel roll into something.
Yeah, so it's driven by dice, and you're placing dice kind of on each of your halves of the board. And most of the time, so like the pilot controls the landing gear, you
Yeah.
control the flaps as the
Yeah.
co-pilot. But then there were certain points where we had to add our dice together, so or compare them. So the yaw, I guess, or pitch.
Yeah,
I'm
roll.
not a pilot.
Roll,
sure.
Yeah.
That was one where whoever had a higher number, if they weren't the same number on the dice, it would start tilting that the difference
Yeah,
between
the difference
dice
between as
towards
well.
them.
Yeah.
And the speed, you add them together, and you need to get it between a certain like threshold.
Yes.
And like, as
well,
we
you
were
need it
doing,
dead on. You need it flat, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you go a little bit over, it's okay as long as you can get back.
Yeah.
But there are basically fail points on either side where it's like you've turned so far
Yeah.
that you've now crashed the
And
plane.
then for the speed, you add them together, and you were increasing the faster we could go.
Yes.
While I had to bring up the kind of lowest speed as we're opening flaps and so on. So you
Yeah.
have to keep it between these two kind of like on this scale. And if you move things too fast, the scale will shrink and it becomes even harder.
Yeah, and it's this kind of interesting thing of like, oh, I put that dice there, and then we do one action each, and it's kind of like we can't talk, so we're trying to figure out what each other's game plan is. We can't see each other's dice, so it's very sort of like non-verbal communication. We finished the first scenario, and I was like, oh yeah, it's fun. It's a
You
bit
can
easy.
talk in the. Oh no, you can't talk once.
You can't talk once you've rolled
the
your
dice. Yes.
Yeah. And I was just like, oh, it's a bit easy. And then the demoer pulled out all of these modules.
Yeah,
of,
like
storms,
icy landings,
icy landings, yeah, like
Winds,
cliffs
I
you
think,
have
as
to
well.
like swerve between. And it's very much built in that way where it's kind of like, yeah, I'm going to add this on top, I'm going to put that to the side. And you can do a campaign, but you can also kind of set your own difficulty.
Yeah,
Like,
and they've
pick
got
where you're
different
landing,
airports, like
add some
real life
modules.
airports.
Yeah, yeah.
So
and they're-
like Heathrow was there, LaGuardia, I think.
they're very much built in a way where they're trying to simulate what it's like to land at that airport as well, which
and
is
with
really
the
cool.
more advanced ones, you have to then bank the plane at certain points to
Yeah.
get around terrain.
Yes, yeah. It's really interesting. It's really
Yeah.
fun.
It's great. I still love it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. There's not much else to say.
Yeah.
Grab it. Moving on, we've got two left. The penultimate one,
Yes.
which we just saw, we only had a look, we haven't played, is Dungeon Kart.
Yeah, so-
a kind of like Mario Kart version
Very Mario Kart.
of the
Boss Monster.
World.
So yeah, folks probably know Boss Monster's been around for 10 years now. I think literally 10 years. They
Yeah.
just put out a 10th
Big
anniversary
frog guy
edition.
called Lord Croak or whatever.
Yeah,
King Croak.
and
Lord
yeah,
Croak, I
Boss
think
Monster
it's
is
more.
about like building a retro video game dungeon. This then puts those kinds of like bosses
Yeah.
in a kart racer.
Attention Gen Con exhibitors.
So yeah, they basically put those characters into karts, and then you're racing around modular boards, so you can customize the track. There are potentially hazards on the track, like oil spills or
Yeah,
heroes, because
yeah.
you're bosses, so
You've
they
also
will
got
run
those
out and
spell boxes, which are your items,
Yeah,
the
it's-
question marks that you smash into and grab a power up.
yeah,
that
you can pick
fire.
up coins or coin equivalents.
Also, as well, there's a very fun thing where they've actually built a system for the power up you get is better the further
Yes,
back
there
you
are
are.
three
So they've got a
different
catch-up
decks.
mechanic
yeah,
as well.
so
yeah,
it's like the rubber banding of Mario
yes,
Kart.
which is very fun.
Yeah, and then the karts have different kind of stats. You can increase or decrease your speed, and that will affect like how well you drive or like your handling.
We've seen a lot of driving board games now. They all have some kind of gear mechanic.
But
you
this
know,
has
and
a really
it's-
fun kind of feel to it. Like it has the boss monster effect. It is Mario Kart the board game, but I think it looks like it's doing a really good job of that. So I'm kind
Yeah.
of excited to actually play it, get down and like see how competitive it feels.
Yeah.
Like, can I get the equivalent of a blue shell and just blast you out of existence
Yeah.
in first place?
Presumably, yes. That is Dungeon Kart. And then last but not least, Matt, you also had a look at Art Project.
Art Project. So this
Yeah.
is coming out from the Op Games. Art Project. So first of all, it has Vincent Dutray artwork. Vincent Dutray, you may recognize from things like Treasure Island, just like very distinctive style, very like.
It's
just
gorgeous. It's
artwork.
it's beautiful.
So yeah, so Art Project is a game in which you are trying to recover missing artwork from around. There are 6 different maps in there. And there is kind of like an evil group called the White Hand. And it's your job to try and locate the artwork and then find the artwork. And in order to do that, you need to run around and collect clues. These clue cards, you kind of activate them, various things happen, and then you flip them over. They have symbols on the back, and you're looking for 3 kind of matching symbols. That reveals where a piece of artwork is. You then need to get there and kind of recover it. So it's a co-op game in which you are like running around a map, trying to find certain things and also manage the white hand on the board.
Yeah,
they appear as little like white hands.
You described it as simple in a way that means it's been sort of like streamlined,
Yes.
not in a way that it's overly simplified.
It's like
yeah.
pandemic adjacent,
Yeah.
but not quite pandemic. So when you then get to the missing artwork, you need to roll dice. You can modify them in certain ways. If there are members of the white hand, it will make it harder. If you've got some boons, it will make it easier. And then you're basically trying to recover that artwork. But yeah, there are 6 different maps, and they all have slightly different mechanics to them. They're not just rearrangements. So I think like Japan is one of them, and that's kind of like a circular map you travel around. There's another one that I can't remember where, but it's like an island chain. So you can go anywhere. You don't have to follow paths.
Yeah.
But there are then multiple symbols for the white hand to spawn in multiple
Yes.
places. So
Yeah.
you're trying to manage more. There's one where there's like a central hub with kind of spokes out, so you then have to return to the middle each time. But that then brings in a different kind of like mechanic. So yeah, it seems like a lot, but like the base of it is quite this, like I say, this simple kind of like
But
pandemic.
like solid, you know, like
Yeah.
I think sometimes people see like relatively simple systems and they assume that there's not much to them.
Yeah.
But actually, it takes a lot of nuance to be able to dilute something down into its purest form, you know, and that's not dilute, sorry, concentrate something down
Yeah.
to its purest form. And I think it sounds like that's what they've done for the description that you've given.
Yeah, I'm really interested in it. So,
Sweet.
and I think that's out at this year's Essen. So we will be at Essen, and we'll
Yes.
hopefully play it then.
And we'll see you there. But thank you so much for sticking with us throughout all of our Gen Con coverage. This should be the first one going up, but we've got so much coming out, both on the video channel and on the website. So please do hit subscribe here on youtube.com/Dicebreaker. Hit the notification bell to get notified whenever we put a new video live, because we've got a lot of them coming at you in the next few weeks. We have got a exclusive interview with, I think it's exclusive, correct me if I'm wrong, people over there, with Brandon Cutler of AEW, who
Yes.
is talking about, hence why we are here at the Upper
Yes,
Deck.
The AEW versus 2-player TCG system.
2-player card game,
That's
2
the one, thank
PCG,
you.
I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, they've got a sort of like multiverse kind of. There's Mortal Kombat, there's The Boys, all this kind of stuff. AEW,
Wrestling.
something very close to my heart. The wrestling promotion have also now got one of those sort of like packs of cards that you can build decks from. We had a look at it. We talked to Brandon about that, and also about sort of like what he does as a wrestler and how it's influenced by tabletop and his love of D&D and board games and all that kind of stuff. So that's going to be really interesting. But that and loads more is coming to the channel and the website, including all the games that we've been talking about today. We are going to have lots of coverage on them. So stick around, head on over to Dicebreaker.com for news and updates and everything that's going on. There is also our membership program over on Dicebreaker.com/subscribe, where you can get discounts to events like this. You want to go to PAX Unplugged?
Yeah.
You can sign up for the yearly membership and get discounted tickets, as well as ad-free viewing and behind-the-scenes exclusive members content. It's a great time. So thank you very much for watching all of our stuff here at Gen Con, both this and whatever comes up next. But we will see you on the next one. Thank you very much for watching, and have a lovely day. Goodbye.